So let's talk about identity, right? So I'm just curious about, okay, so for other people, maybe it's good looking and things like that. So for a long time, my identity is actually my work. And my self-esteem is directly tied to my work or my job and how good I am at it. So I tried really hard to be like the best employee. So I work overtime to be amazing. My boss love me. My colleague hate me because I overtime too much that it's annoying. I get it. Now I look back, I'm like, that's shit. So there was a so there was a point of time where my identity is work. And whenever I was jobless, because I love to job hop, that space in between the job, I was miserable. I was depressed. I was crying. I was like, I need a job soon because that was my identity. So I don't know, like when it comes to you, is there any, was there part of, identity that you associate with, you know,
All the time.
yeah. What
All
is
the
the
time. It's a roller
identity?
coaster.
Mm,
It's a roller coaster of precisely like you said. It's where you are at the moment,
mm-hmm,
on what you associate with. Uh,
mm-hmm,
it's. I mean, it might last your whole lifetime. Remember what you said. What we said earlier about when you feel a certain ways to explore why you're feeling that way.
mm-hmm,
Okay. Um, it doesn't mean that because you're able to explore that or to find that you have all the answers either, or you've cracked the code on
yeah.
how not to be like it. My validation is essentially, or my identity is external. Okay, and I'm
Mm-hmm,
working on that to try and make it not so external.
mm-hmm,
But it's not so much. Uh, it's it's in a very very bad place, almost equal to people whose validation comes from looks. Okay, mine comes from how valuable I am to somebody.
mm,
You understand? It's how much I can
yeah,
serve them, how much they want me around because I'm needed. Okay, so it
yeah,
comes from this need to be needed
yeah.
validation. And when somebody doesn't need me anymore, then I feel most horrible ever. Whether it be a job,
Mm-hmm,
whether it be a relationship, whether it be anything. The moment
mm-hmm,
I'm no longer needed,
mm-hmm,
then I have no self worth whatsoever.
mm-hmm,
So that's my challenge. That's my journey of being
mm-hmm.
significant, even though might not be needed by certain people. And it's not easy. so,
Yeah,
so I mean, you pride yourself by being like the best employee. I pride
yeah.
myself by being the most helpful,
Mm-hmm,
kind, generous kind of person. And these might be virtues that people are like, oh, you need to be kind, you need to be generous. In my case, it was completely selfish
mm-hmm,
because if I wasn't kind and generous, etc., I would not get the validation of being thanked or being needed or being wanted as such. And
mm-hmm,
it took a long time to actually realize that, like, I'm doing these things in order to get rather than to give.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so the motivation was wrong, even though the actions were right
mm-hmm.
as such.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
You're a
it's
very giving person. You're always, I feel like in every conversation, you kind of like strive to give value. Like even like a short conversation, you'd be like, okay, how could I help you today? How could I help you today? And it's like, I'm good, I'm good. Like this conversation is great. I enjoy myself. And that is, enough. And I feel like you really, really try to make a difference in whoever that you're interacting with, you're conversing with. It's almost like, yes, like I can do this and I can do this. So I could definitely see the value that you're delivering and also the work that
thank
you're
you.
doing as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's very kind. See what I mean? Okay, so it doesn't mean I want to stop doing what I'm doing because I love doing what I'm doing and I love being able to help people. What I'm trying to
Yeah.
change is the mental association that is there.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, yes, I can be. I want to add value to you. I want to leave this conversation and go. You know what? I think Rashidah is going to leave here being very happy that she spent the time with me. She gave of her time and effort and of herself in order for us to have this conversation. I want to make it worth your while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what I'm trying to switch in my own mind is like, if you didn't feel that way, it doesn't mean I'm a failure. It doesn't mean I'm useless. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean I'm helpless or worthless,
It's
kind of
perfectly
thing.
fine.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's the
Yeah.
switch I'm trying to make. I want to continue with doing what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
not have that self worth attached to it,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
a struggle. Because I mean, I can put on as much makeup as you like. I still won't be as pretty. I have to work on more personality or character type makeup
No.
attractiveness things. As you can see, I'm trying to cover up my face to cover up the rest of the stuff for a little while. But I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. Now, here's the thing. Do you ever feel like, sorry, do you have a question before I continue?
I don't know. I'm good.
You don't know? You don't know if you have a question. In the spiritual journey, this is a very difficult question to ask because I don't know how to phrase it very well. Is there an end? Okay. Are we working towards something? Now I know in Buddhism, etc., we call it nirvana or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it. But generally, they say it takes a few reincarnations to get there, so it's not a very instantaneous thing.
Yeah.
So, logically speaking, there might not be an end to this spiritual growth. Is it worth even doing something that doesn't have an end?
Okay, so here's my
This is a
end.
difficult question. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I have an end in mind. And my end in mind
Called death.
it is actually to lead a triggerless life. That is, to me, I made it. To not have that annoying feeling, to not have any anxiety, to not have any jealousy or negativity. And it doesn't mean I need to be positive all the time or happy all the time, but to know and be at peace with who I am and wherever I'm at, and just having that full acceptance and full surrender. That is my end. And that's spiritually, of course, but I'm working to a bit towards being a millionaire. So that's my both end goal, spiritually and material goal. Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I was just about to say, can you teach me, please? I got triggers coming out of my ears. I got triggers everywhere, and it's like it's horrible. I mean, I barely leave the house these days because of triggers. It's very, very difficult. But that triggers usually happen is mostly from trauma.
Yes.
Okay, or something very intense that has happened. In my case, it's trauma.
Yeah.
But to live a triggerless life, that sounds like, being high the whole time.
I love that. I never been, but soon I hope.
I've never been. I don't even drink alcohol, but it just sounds like that kind of euphoria kind of environment. I'm sure we can learn from people like Russell Brand about, because do you know Russell Brand?
Yeah, I think so. Russell.
Okay,
Yeah,
he's a crazy British comedian actor guy. Really, really awesome fella, but he's hilarious. I mean, he's a recovering drug addict from many years of drug abuse. But even till this day, he'll be like, "Have you tried heroin? It's fantastic." Even though he wouldn't recommend somebody to actually take it, he says, it has to be amazing, otherwise people wouldn't get hooked on it, kind of thing. So let's take it triggerless. I'm picturing going out into public right now and not being hyper vigilant, not being anxious, not checking out my environment, looking at people, judging them immediately, getting angry about things, especially on the road. My God, stupid bad drivers.
Yeah.
It just seems like a very peaceful nirvana type state to be in. So I love the way you put it, living a triggerless existence.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far you're along on that journey, but if you are quite advanced, then I'll bow down to you and call you master and learn from you, because that sounds beautiful as such. The problem with that, please tell me if this resonates with you, is when you're looking to, okay, triggerless usually comes alongside things like surrender or letting things go. And I did a summit about the meditation, miracles, and manifestation a while ago, and this came up quite often. Is when asked to let things go or to surrender or to try and tell yourself, think positive, about things. You never know the other side of the story. It's your brain going, you're lying to yourself. Okay.
No. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, yeah,
You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's like there's something really about you're jealous about something. Are they
yeah,
very good or whatever it
yeah,
is? And you're saying, no, no, I am still worthy. I am still wonderful. I am still amazing. And your brain's going, you're a big fat liar because you know
yeah.
all of your all of your failings.
Actually, yeah,
So go ahead.
actually, that's what I find because I was on that journey where it's like positive affirmations, journaling and things like that. And I find that positivity is not enough. When you are just, focusing on the good stuff, but ignoring the shit that is running it, you just can't clear it because it will come up. It will come up. Like, so living a triggerless life is really about like healing all of that trauma, all of that, inner childhood healing and integrating all aspects of
Shadow
ourselves
work.
where,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of shadow work because I realized that you can try to be positive, but if there is still an underlying shit, underlying pain that needs a bit more compassion and a bit more love, it just won't go away. So before I would try to ignore all my triggers or my annoyance or my anxiety, I would meditate more. I could meditate for hours. I could journal it. I could talk about it. But until I face it head on and see this is the reason why I'm so bedridden with anxiety. This is the reason why I'm so mad all the time. This is the reason why this person pissed me off. It's not this person. It was a point in time where that trigger just came up because of a pain, of a resentment, of the time we were silenced, of the time where we don't matter, of the time we're just, swept under the rug and it's like, ugh, being dismissed. So I feel like balancing a lot of the inner work and facing it head on would really, help with the being triggerless. And I've actually seen somebody who lead a triggerless like through this reality show called Below Deck. I know there's this chef that was just meditating every morning and every night, and the whole day he's just zen. So the moment there's drama or negativity, he goes, I'm not going to entertain that. Please don't talk to me. And he just be able to accept people as who they are. Even if they are challenging or difficult or going through their own shit, he recognizes it instantly that it's not him. So there is so much peace in his work. I could see his day is just, he's just enjoying doing cooking and serving and knowing his worth. Even if somebody were to say, hey, your food is shit, he knows that, no, it's actually pretty good. But if not, I will work on it. There's no ego to defend. There's
Mm.
no, I need to be good. I need you to think I'm good. He'll look at that situation and be like, you know what? Thanks for the feedback. I will do better. And giving himself permission to grow. And I look at that triggerless life that he led and to have the opportunity to see it. And I was like, that is amazing. Like to shine without the burden of all the pain, anxiety, resentment, and negativity is sounds amazing. And I think it's worth working on spiritually.
Well, it's definitely worth working on. But as
Yeah.
we've mentioned a few times, I mean, obviously we're not even close to claiming to being experts in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, it's a bit of a minefield. It is a bit of a
Yeah.
minefield that sometimes has, as we said about the thinking positive and positivity. I did a video on the Bad Wisdom channel that was very meaningful to me
Mm-hmm.
personally, where people used to tell me, happiness is a choice,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally wanted to punch them in the face because
Mm-hmm.
I was having depression at the time, and they're telling me, "Oh, happiness is a choice,"
Mm-hmm.
and it was the most ignorant thing in the world to say to somebody who's going through depression, because already you feel like you're not worthwhile, you're a failure, you've not, you can't do anything, you're not worth anything, and they're telling you, well, you can't even choose to be happy. How ridiculous are you?
Yeah.
and and in the spiritual journey of being a triggerless life, and you said looking internally might have this minefield, which you might have experienced, you might not have experienced, of all of this is my fault, I'm so horrible, it's my fault, I'm angry, it's my fault, I'm jealous, it's nothing to do with anybody else. um, and then it having the converse effect on you of bringing everything down rather than lifting you up because of awareness. Um, and to be honest with you, it's when you said, you look back and it's based in a trauma or an experience where you're pushed under the rug, etc., etc. If you don't have the guidance or the awareness to be able to see it for what it is, it becomes like, oh, it's their fault. It's their fault. I'm like this. Um, so what I learned a couple of years ago, I went on this retreat in Australia called the Hoffman process. Was
Mhm.
a very very valuable phrase, which still sticks in my head today. I tend to forget it sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect. It doesn't encompass my whole life. When I'm reminded of it, I'm like, oh yes, okay, sorry. Is well, it speaks about your parents pretty much, or the very influential figures in your life when you were very young, whether it be a parent or a surrogate, or it doesn't really matter what it is. It's that it's their fault, but they're not to blame. Okay, it's their fault and not to blame. And that was very, very valuable. And you can even apply it to yourself. Okay, yes, it's my fault that I think this way. It's my fault, but I'm not to blame for that. Okay, so I'm not a victim, but I am a product of my environment. So now it's my choice to get out of it. So the environment is to blame for how things are. How you are is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to get better. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Am I
Yes,
making
it makes
sense?
perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. I was starting to confuse myself. And I think you personify that perfectly. I mean, like I said, your environment it might is the same as so many different other people who grew up here, in your age group, in your culture, whose life is very very different.
Mhm.
They're living a miserable existence, going through the
Mhm.
motions, fitting into a society that tells them
Mhm.
to be a certain way, and thinking what the Singapore what bopian. Have you heard
Yeah, yeah.
Singapore bopian? It's the
Yeah.
most debilitating phrase I've ever heard in this country ever. It's like people say it all the time. Oh, bopian, bopian. Okay, for those of you who don't know what it means, bopian means no choice.
Yeah.
It's this philosophy of no choice. It's like you do have okay, choices might not be great,
Yeah.
but no choice just means I resign to everything rather than letting go. What do we say? Surrender.
Yes.
Surrender and resignation are two different things, I think.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. Surrendering is letting things go. Resignation is just I can't do anything about it. Therefore, I will just
Mhm.
be that way.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it kind of made
Yeah.
sense in my head.
Yeah. So surrender feels like freedom, feels like ease, feels like flow, feels like you're still supported and
There we
guided.
go.
Again, and that feeling of, it feels like you had no choice. So
You have
your
no choice. You're
heart
the
will
victim.
know where you are at. Yeah.
See, there. I told you you'd be able to explain it a lot better than I can. Yeah, it just feels so oppressive. The Bopian is like, I have no choice. I have to do what I'm told. I have to be how I'm supposed to be, or the society is putting the rules on me, or the government, or the parents, or my boss, or whatever it is. It's I just have to be the slave that they want me to be.
Mm,
It's this giving up of your civil liberties and humanity in many ways.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, but
gives a
but
feeling of, you know,
yeah, and I also believe that, sometimes they really did know any better because we are literally taught from young to look for external validation. You're only a good student if you got A as a result. You're only a good student if your teacher believes that you're a good student. You're not a good student if you think you're a good student and you pay attention, but you're not good enough in the measurement of a teacher or your grades or your report or your parents. And so suddenly when we are older, we are like, hey, why do we look for external validation? Because we're literally taught since young. We didn't know. We didn't know what other things that we could measure on. So then when the self-referencing come in, then there's like, oh, I could be happy just doing this and I could be happy just doing that. And I don't have to, fulfill everything that I was taught to fulfill, including responsibilities, like doing it in a spirit of wanting to serve and happiness and doing it in terms of like I have to because it's my responsibility, then that's just a different energy there. So it's really interesting how the programming is so ingrained, and some people just don't know that it's you could change that, or if you want to because some people just felt like that's the cards that they're dealt with. They're already like that, they can't change, what's the point? But for the sake of happiness and fulfillment and that joy, it's effort still to uncover that and unearth that and deprogram yourself. Yeah.
I love the
Yeah.
conditioning thing you just spoke about now, because it is so valid.
Yeah.
Uh, in so many different ways. And one of the most destructive is exactly what you said earlier. It's like you're only good if your grades show it or your teacher says so, whatever it is. And I've met so many kids who might not be academically minded or fit into that criteria,
Yeah.
and they will try their best. They will try their utmost. But because it doesn't fit into that scale or that criteria,
Yeah.
it's not recognized or not rewarded in any way. And they'll say, well, you know what? I worked my butt off and it
Yeah.
didn't work. I'm not going to work my butt off anymore because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that has such a knock-on effect for later on.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than exploring, like you said before, you were encouraged to follow what you thought, was your path. It was
Mm-hmm.
your thing you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, how many times when you're young are you told you're wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're wrong. And then when you get to like 16, 17, 18, people want you to make decisions for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I make decisions if I'm getting told I'm wrong the whole
Yeah.
time?
Mm-hmm.
And what'll happen is we'll ask other people's opinions, and they'll tell us what to do, and we'll do what they want and be miserable because either they're older or they're very, well, they might be very successful in their field,
Yeah.
but they are them and we are us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit of a minefield, actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, I want to go straight back to what we discussed, like when we started this
Mm-hmm.
conversation, if
Okay.
you don't mind. Okay, I don't want to, if you want to stay here, we can stay here, but I want to go back.
Sure.
Just let me know where you are. Is to when we discussed about how we started on this journey, and I said there's so many things that are so much more important than the things we do worry about.
Mm-hmm.
As such, doesn't mean that we shouldn't worry about things that are happening in our daily lives,
Mm-hmm.
but at least to have some perspective. It's like, oftentimes people say, like, in a year from now, will it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the thing you worry about, the traffic that you're experiencing, that you're getting very angry about right now. So this is what I'm mentioning this for a very important reason, because of what I said previously about the, what do you call it, the self talk
Mm-hmm.
that happens when you're like, I'm happy, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm intelligent, I'm pretty,
Yeah.
your brain's going, you're a big fat liar, because I can see what you see in the mirror, I know what you think about yourself, so stop trying to fool yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just trying to bring in a little bit of something different that helped me a little bit, and I don't know if it'll help anybody else or mean anything to you. Is that right now I feel shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's having that honesty. Right now I feel rejected, not so intelligent, clumsy, whatever is the negativity that you're feeling right, or but just pissed off. Right now I'm just really, really angry.
Yeah.
But will I be angry in a week from now? Will I be angry in a year from now?
Yeah.
Okay. It takes away. It becomes a state of where you are rather than a
Mm-hmm.
categorization of who you are.
Yeah.
Does it make any sense to you? Am I saying this correctly? I hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
As such. So yeah,
Yeah.
not to judge ourselves based on what we're feeling right now,
Yeah.
as who we are. It's just how we are right now.
Yeah. And I do encourage for, people to actually look deeper into why is it that anger always come up, because I feel like, I was always at a phase where I'm rationalizing, and I knew that maybe it's just a moment and maybe it's this person, but there's something deeper there that is worth exploring into what it is that set you off, because just removing that root cause will make sure it didn't come up again and again. Because I feel like the longest time in my healing journey, I did like, okay, like rationalizing away or do other things to distract, remove myself from the situation, all of that stuff. But it wasn't until I faced, face to face on what is it that triggered me so badly? What is it about this that make me so damn angry that I could just break this stuff and throw things at a wall, because like, is it even my anger?
It's a good thing you're
Is it
small.
myself? Yeah.
It should cause a lot of damage.
Because that really
Okay,
helps to remove that bomb inside of you. Yeah.
if you would like to share,
Uh-huh.
if you would like to share, there's no obligation whatsoever. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
What was it?
What did you find that made you so angry?
Oh, okay. had so many. If we talk about it, I could be here for days. But a lot of times, so
One.
when I was younger, sure. So when I was younger, my parents divorced when I was 12 years old. And I'm always my father is a very boomer type of parenting method. It's my way or the highway. And there are a lot of situations where I'm always wrong. So even if a slight off chance I'm right, I'm wrong, even though I was there and I saw it and it's a factual thing that I'm experiencing, but if he don't feel the same way, I'm wrong. So, parenting, like, I don't know if it's a boomer thing where, you slap a little bit or you spank the kid or you have the wooden whip, and so beating people, beating a kid, no matter how gentle it is, they will definitely come up with a lot of anger. And there's not really healthy way to express anger or be angry. So as I grow up, even though I have this anger, I'm also knew that I had to suppress it because showing that I'm angry is wrong. Because if I show it, I'll get an even bigger punishment. So I learned to just stifle that anger, and things like that. And then I also feel like angry people are just bad people. I didn't recognize that anger is just a feeling. It only until I look at my own anger and know that I'm not a bad person because I'm angry. It was just because of these situations that made me an angry person. And the more I give myself compassion and self love and acknowledge and accept the shadow part of myself, the shitty part of myself, that's where I can look at other people who are angry and be like, you know what, you're not really angry about this thing right here. There's something else that made you this angry. And so I could honor that person and respect that person, even though before I would be like, oh my God, you're angry, what's wrong with you? So how much compassion that you're able to give yourself is how much compassion you're able to show other people. It's always an equal measure. However you're judging ourselves is however we judge other people as well, what we like, what we don't like. And that's, just natural, just, things like that. So it took me a lot of times. And then part of my spiritual journey as well is to express that anger because I'm so used to suppressing my anger. There'll come a time where it's time for me to show that I'm angry. And that was my spiritual milestone. So I remember being really proud of myself when a friend pissed me off. And usually I would just, ghost them and ignore them and block them. I decided to tell this friend that, you know what, this is something I'm really angry about. I don't feel like blah, 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 blah. And then after that, she apologized. We worked things out and then it's fine. So spiritual journey doesn't mean it's all peaceful and great. Sometimes it means shit. Sometimes it means tears. Sometimes it means your shadow side. Sometimes it things we're ashamed of. We don't want people to know that, we have asshole parts of us, things that we're not proud of. I have moments where I don't give the seat to a pregnant lady who's heavily pregnant. And, she decided to ask the seat from me by kicking me on my feet and like expecting me to give up the seat. And I'm just like, no. And I knew at that moment I'm being an ass. But I gave myself the grace to be like, I regret that moment. But the more I give myself self-love, the more I'm able to show compassion. Because at that time, I don't give a shit about that pregnant lady. I don't give a shit about myself too. So with that growth and we evolve, is just spill out to the world. That beauty, that shine, that awesomeness just spills out to the world. So yeah.
There's like, just in that last 2 minutes of what you said, there's about 30 different things to explore. Which we don't have time for, but the good thing is that we're friends and we will obviously be able to have an opportunity to speak about these things again in future. Yeah, that was quite insightful. It's a lot to think about, a lot to take in as such. The one thing I do want to mention though, which I'm sure you would have mentioned if you had a lot more time at some point, is I'm glad you said you gave yourself the permission to be angry, but you also approached your friend and showed her that respect of letting her know, you know what, this and this made me angry. Because there are so many people whose default it is like, that person pissed me off, but I don't want confrontation, therefore I'm going to disappear and cut them out of my life. And you miss out on so much as such. The other part, the flip side of that is like you said, I knew that I was being an ass, but I didn't care about that person. I didn't care about myself. When it happens with people, okay, not a stranger on the bus or on the train, as you said before, but as somebody who you care about, is being able to say you're sorry, to recognize it and say, you know what, I behaved this way. I was angry about this. It's not an excuse. I'm just letting you know why I was angry. It doesn't excuse my behavior, and for such, I apologize. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I didn't mean to do that. I think that is such a powerful thing, which, like you said before, and I want to use this as the key or the core or the center of everything is ego.
Yeah.
Okay, ego and pride.
Yes.
Once that's out of the way, like you said about that fella, the chef guy on the ship,
Reality show, yes.
on the reality show on the ship. Yeah, the moment you get rid of that ego, everything that we've discussed today, as such, that's so struggle, and I get pissed off and I get triggered, and everything I believe is ego. It's like it's like these things determine who I am, which is not. And what you've done so beautifully, well, you're still on your journey, obviously, but to a large degree have accomplished, and it becomes so attractive. It's so attractive. And by attractive, I mean you draw people towards you, okay, is having that vibe of not needing validation. Okay, it's nice to have, don't get me wrong, it's not.
Yes.
you don't reject you don't reject validation.
Keep them coming. Yeah.
Okay, but how I think about you has got nothing to do with how you think about yourself, if you know what I mean, as such. Okay, it's nice to know that somebody has good things to say about you, has a good impression, but it's not going to change how you think about yourself. And that is that ego part that I think is so, I'm going to apologize to you, whether you think I'm weak because of it, whether you think I'm an asshole because of it doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do. I know I behaved in a way that wasn't good. I treated you badly. Whether you deserved it or not doesn't really matter, because that's your demon to deal with, not mine. Mine right now is my actions towards you. So I love that you said that, and I love that your friend had the maturity and self-awareness to be able to say, you know what, I didn't realize I pissed you off. I didn't realize you're angry about this, but thank you for telling me. I'm really sorry. And you got on, and you still are friends right now, and you enjoy each other's company and the love that you share with each other, which is great. So that's a beautiful example. Thank you so much. And we'll do a reaction video on this video in 10 years' time.
Oh, God. I don't know. I hope by then I lead a triggerless life and a millionaire.
A triggerless life, that's pretty ultimate. I think it's wonderful to have as a goal, and if you achieve it, that's fantastic. But in 10 years time from now, you would have passed the millionaire stage, like so far away, you wouldn't classify yourself as a millionaire anymore. I was like, really? I was thinking so small back then. I don't remember that time we wanted to make $1 million. How stupid were we?
You could have made $1 billion.
Yeah, like, tens of millions later, it's like $1 million. That's like last week. I spent that last week. No, that's why I said, as far as especially entrepreneurs and ones that are money conscious and understand that way of things, but it stops becoming a money thing after a while. I really believe it stops becoming, it's not that it's not important and the figures aren't important, but it becomes more of a sense of creation. You want to create something that's worth $1 million, whether it's a service that you do for yourself or what you've given other people, or a product, whatever it is. You want to create something that's worth it, and that's just the measurement that you're using at the moment is money to prove that it's gotten to a certain place. Once that's gone, I've heard so many multi-millionaires say over the times, like the first million is the hardest. After you get past there, you don't really care about the numbers so much anymore, which is that's where I want to be. I want to be there where I don't care anymore.
I want
about
to
the
be
numbers.
it, and then I don't care about
I love it. And I think you'll get there. I think you're going to get there very, very fast. You're way ahead of most of the people, and I think you're going to laugh at the people who you envy now. Oh, I wish I could do more going to cafe and go shopping and do this kind of stuff, and then see how they end up in 10 years time from now, and where you will be. They'll be very jealous of you if they're not already. I'm sure a lot of them are already.